We have all heard about some of the greatest NBA debuts of all time. LeBron hit the league as the chosen one, made a splash immediately showing people that he was NBA ready. Damian Lillard, Allen Iverson, OG Isaiah Thomas all had great first games. Michael Carter-Williams almost had a quadruple double, and Wilt Chamberlain went for 43 points and 28 rebounds. But what about the worst NBA debuts in NBA history? Well, let's get started. Exactly 10 years after LeBron got drafted, the Cavs no longer had LeBron because they refused to put anyone decent around him and pretty much shoved his way out because he couldn't win there. But who could fill in his shoes? Well, in the 2013 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers selected Anthony Bennett out of UNLV. Could he be the savior for the Cavs team who desperately needed to begin their rebuild? Well, history tells us no. He may very well go down as one of the biggest busts in history, especially being the #1 overall pick. But all the signs that he would struggle in the NBA happened immediately. It took him 5 games to make his first field goal, and let me tell you, the announcers went crazy after he made his first shot. This had to be one of the most embarrassing things to ever happen because there's a lot of pressure being a first-round pick, even more as a #1 overall. He was quoted by saying, "I feel like there's just a lid on the rim." Well, nobody took the lid off the rim for the first 7 games of his career because he only scored 5 points total. And to be fair, it doesn't even seem like they took the lid off the rim for his entire career. But moving on, throwing it all the way back to the 1982 season with Clark Kellogg, the 6'7", 225-pound power forward from Cleveland, Ohio, was the 8th overall pick to the Indiana Pacers. So once again, a lot of pressure. Well, Clark must have been one of those guys who never cared how much he got rejected by girls and just kept shooting his shot anyways, because that's exactly how he attacked the game of basketball. Clark Kellogg went an embarrassing 2 for 17 from the field. Not only is this a ton of shot attempts in a game in general, but I just don't understand why you'd keep shooting if you're missing that much. That's 11% from the field with no 3-point attempts, I might add, so they were all relatively close to the basket. Even though he went on to have a very impressive next 10 games and actually a really impressive 4-year career, he would go on to be a successful analyst at ESPN, CBS Sports, and the announcer for 2K, if that name sounded familiar. We will never forget or let him down the awful 2 for 17 performance though. Next up, when you see a player like Tim Hardaway Sr., you just assume he was always at the All-Star from the jump. But him and his son are both notorious for being streaky from the field, and his son this year, Tim Hardaway Jr., went 0 for 12 and almost tied his father for most misses in a row without a make, because as it stands right now, Tim Hardaway Sr. currently holds the record from 0 for 17 shooting night with the Golden State Warriors in 1991. But both of these players had great careers, and Tim Hardaway Sr. is a legend. But his NBA debut was nothing to brag about and didn't show any indication to actually how good he would be in the NBA. He played for just over 23 minutes and was 0 for 7 from the field, 0 free throw attempts, 1 rebound, and 1 turnover. This man would go on to be an NBA legend, and in his first game, he literally just ran up and down the court doing pretty much nothing for over 23 minutes. The next one we're going to be going over is Bradley Beal. Now, his debut wasn't as horrible as some of these other ones were, but what was bad was the situation, because Bradley Beal and the Wizards were facing off against fellow rookie Dion Waiters and the Cavs, and Dion Waiters popped off this game. Whereas Bradley Beal had a very unimpressive 8 points from 2 for 8 from the field. But what was bad was the narrative, because it went around the league after the game because the Wizards drafted the wrong shooting guard. But Dion Waiters went for 17 points and was clearly having a better game. But this is just us classic basketball fans. We love to get wrapped up in the moment and make big conclusions. I've been guilty of this myself, even though I really try to not get wrapped up in the moment. But obviously, flash forward 9 or so years, Bradley Beal's an all-star starter. Dion Waiters was probably vibing out on a plane somewhere, but he does have a ring, so I really can't even hate on the guy too much. Moving on to another one with a huge storyline, we're talking about Steph Curry with a 40-inch vertical. His dad claimed that he could do better with the Warriors than Curry could. Yes, we all know we're talking about Lonzo Paul. People around the league do not take nicely to kids who are this hyped up before playing a second in the NBA. Even though it's not Lonzo's fault at all, he's a very quiet and nice kid. Magic Johnson and his dad LeVar put a huge target on his back. Magic Johnson went as far as saying they're going to be hanging his number in the rafters before he even played a single game. This was one of the worst matchups he could have possibly gotten was Patrick Beverley, and of course they faced off against the Clippers opening day. And Pat Bev was all over him. Ultra aggressive, like Lonzo did something to personally attack him. But it definitely was a welcome to the NBA moment, and we all know the hype around Lonzo, and again, so this led to all the overreactions because he only had 3 points on 1 of 6 shooting. However, he would follow up this performance the very next game with a 29, 11, and 9 game against the Suns, but it's safe to say this was not the debut Lonzo was looking for in the NBA. That's actually going to wrap up this list. Let me know if you think I missed anyone, but it's safe to say that these NBA debuts were not a thing we can put a lot of stake in. Some people have incredible debuts, but just because someone doesn't mean really anything at all, because we've seen some of these players go on to be all-stars, NBA legends, all-star starters, etc. So make sure to like the video if you liked it. Comment down below if I missed anyone, or if you think who was the worst debut of all time. Right now I have to think it's Kellogg. Okay, he did get some points up, but he was 2 for 17. 17 shots all inside. Like, that is a horrible way to start. And if you like daily basketball content, make sure to subscribe. And as always, I will see you all later. Peace.